How are you?
I am great. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. I'm a bit jealous of you. Can I tell you the truth?
Tell me why.
You were just in my hometown of St. John's, Newfoundland.
Oh, yes, I was. Man, I just beat the hurricane. I was there just like 2 days before the hurricane.
The
Wow.
stage you played 2 days later was blown over.
I know. I felt because those people are so great up there, and that festival, so much fun. And so that's a really special place. It's obviously a little isolated, but it's really just really wonderful people up there.
You had a good time?
Oh, I did a really good time.
Okay, I'm glad. Tell me the story about this thing now. So, how did you end up looking back on the early versions of these songs?
Well, it's funny. The whole project is kind of a time capsule inside of a time capsule because it's about 8 years ago. I had this thought, oh, I'm gonna do a box set. Remember when CD box sets were a thing? And I knew I had like some material around, and I started looking and digging up stuff. And I was having such a great time finding these old things and really finding them and going, why didn't I put that on the album? What's that? This is really good. And then realizing, oh, there was a certain insecurity. Some of it was before I had come out publicly about my sexuality, and I felt like they were too, too obviously or too sexual or something, or too powerful or too feminist. Those are kind of the reasons that kept coming up to me of why I would leave these behind. And so 8 years ago, I got my first band together that I played with in 1988, and it was Kevin McCormick and Fritz Lewick and John Shanks, who have all gone on to do amazing things. But we all came back together and we re-recorded these old songs, and so it had that feel and the feel of back then, but they were right now. And then I had these tracks, and then I decided to change everything. I got off of my record label. I changed management. I did everything, and so they just went into a vault. And so when the pandemic rolled around, actually BMG came to me and said, "Do you have anything?" And because no one was making any material, and I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I got some stuff here in the vault," and we pulled it out, and I'm so excited, so happy it's out.
What did you hear when you heard those old songs?
Mm. Well, it had been long enough that I could be forgiving. There's an inner critic that can really shut down things, shut you down. And I have learned to really become a friend with my inner critic, and I can look back and go, oh, and what was fun is, I was filled with desire and fire and looking for love in all the wrong places, and kind of that was my old self. And I'm glad I have, grown out of that. That's a good thing to do. And I'm very happy now. But it was fun to go back and have these songs and record them, and it would just have them and sort of sing them without having to feel them like I used to.
Say that again. You were able to sing them without having to feel them.
Yeah, without having to go through the pain of them, because For the Last Time is like, it's a plea of, this is it, man. This relationship is not working, and I got to get out of here, So that's
right.
That's
so you got to just sing about that as sort of an impartial observer.
yeah. It's sort of like when I do songs like Bring Me Some Water and Like the Way I Do Now, I'm a total observer, and it's just fun to do them because the audience loves them so much and they're fun to sing. But I'm certainly not in that situation anymore. I don't feel, it doesn't cost me anything.
That's something beautiful about that, because I know I'm lucky enough to spend a lot of time with songwriters, and I find that often, and they don't talk about it very much, is that they're often critical, the most critical of songs. They're the ones who I love being in the car with when the radio comes on, and they'll listen to some, God love her, and I'm a big fan, but they'll listen to some like Katy Perry song or some, and they'll go, that pre-chorus is a little, they didn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's our work. We strive to have the most interesting, the most unique stuff. And so, we're always listening, and just as much, I will appreciate something when I hear it and go, oh, that's great. That's a great thing.
So I love that you were able to listen back to this and as a songwriter, hear them as good songs,
Yeah, that was really nice. It was nice to be open to them. Yeah, very much so.
Well, let's play one of them. Take a listen to this.
Take your hands from your face. Watch a hero fall from grace. Lost your way, you little child. You come to me, wild, wild, wild.
If you're just tuning in, I'm Tom Power. This is Q. I'm speaking with the legend herself, Melissa Etheridge, about her new album of old songs, One Way Out. Now, I picked this one because I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one that I really loved. I thought it was a great melody and everything, but I went, that is way too sensitive. It is obvious I'm singing about a woman, and I wasn't ready. And that was for the third album, the Never Enough album. And I just took a deep breath and said, I can't do it. And then I never went back for it. And man, when I found it again, I was like, oh, this is such a sweet song. I gotta put that on. Gotta do it.
Was the I Can't Do It coming from, at the time, was that coming from you, or was it coming from the label or management, or?
Oh, no, no, it was coming from me. Everybody let me do whatever I wanted to. I was very, very fortunate that way. It was definitely coming from me. It was coming from my fear. And I don't have that anymore.
That must be a nice feeling.
It's a really nice feeling. And so it's a nice feeling to be able to sing that song again and just take it as mine and own it.
Did you have any idea that when you talked to me earlier, I recorded these songs before I came out, and, that's how you're sort of hearing them. Did you have any idea that, and we don't have to talk about this too much, but that's such a personal decision you made would have such an impact on so many other people that you never would have met,
Yeah, this coming out publicly was the first time I really did anything like that I stepped out and said who I was. And I had no idea, not a clue, because not many had done it before. I had no idea what would happen, whether people would stop listening to me. But I thought to myself, if they're going to stop listening to me because I'm gay, then they weren't really listening, then they're not really enjoying the music. And so I just did it. And I got to tell you, from that moment on, people are still coming up to me saying how much it meant to them and how it changed their life or saved their life, or, and I had no idea it would be like that. But it was then that I realized that doing something for yourself, doing something healthy and good, and standing up for yourself and having the courage to be yourself, absolutely can change the world. And that's the only way we can. We can't make other people do anything. If we do it ourselves, we can be an example. And that's just the most powerful thing I realized.
Are they coming up to you at airports and stuff like that to tell you that, really?
Yeah. It's really something. And it holds a sweet place in my heart that I didn't mean to. I did it for me. And the reward was just is unlimited. It's just constant.
I heard a story one time. I think it was because Katie Lang was in here and we were talking a little bit about this. And she was saying, no, it was a story I read that it was like you and Ellen DeGeneres and Katie Lang and Rosie O'Donnell, all who sort of came out, I guess, around the same time, and was all, and again, these personal decisions you made had such an incredible impact on people around the world who made their own decisions, were able to live their own lives in a more honest way. But that you guys were also in contact with one another around then.
Oh yeah, we were good friends in the late 80s, early 90s. We hung out a lot. We didn't have families. Our jobs were not as crazy as they became, and we were very good friends. Whenever Katie was in town, we would get together all the time and we would talk about it. And Katie was the first that really, she did an interview with The Advocate, and it was on the cover, and it was like, oh boy, and Katie was, of course, she should have been the first, because she was obviously, she was the most out there of all of us, and you would go, yeah, I can see she's gay, and so that really helped me. And then Katie and myself, the response that we got was so huge and big, and our careers just expanded and exploded. And so Ellen, 5 years later came out, and then 6 years later Rosie came out. So it was, we all helped each other.
Are y'all still in touch?
Not as much. No. No, we all have families and huge careers. And like, I mean, I was just on the Ellen show. So I see Ellen more than anybody because we were in the same town, but I hardly ever see KD anymore.
It must be a trip to listen to the radio now. I mean, you were just telling me that story about Wild, Wild, Wild. It must be a trip to listen to the radio now. And
are you kidding?
You know
like
what I'm
hearing
saying?
artists. Yeah. You're talking about all the out artists now?
Yeah.
Oh, it tickles me to no end when I hear, I think it was a Halsey song, she's singing a verse about this guy, and then she sings a verse about, the girlfriend, and then the girl, and I'm like, God, this is just it, just to have that freedom to just, God, to love who you want to have those experiences, and then to sing about them, and nobody worries, I love it so much, and I'm so proud. I'm like, look what we did, and it, I do. I love how Sam Smith can sing, and him being gay is just, that's just part of it. It's just a color in our crayon box, and we're all just people making music. And I love that so much.
My favorite part of what you just said is when you said, it makes me think, look what we did.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm so proud and so happy to be a part of that.
Well, listen, before I let you go, the songs from this album are taken from an era in your life that really cemented your music career. I mentioned I'm the Only One, which went crazy on radio and on MTV. You won a couple of Grammys. Over in my very, as you mentioned, isolated island in the middle of the North Atlantic, we were listening to you out there. Do you have a moment in time that you could tell me, and I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, where you sort of realized this is all a bit surreal?
Well, the surrealness started really right around there in 1994 when I did come out, and there was just a wave that sort of lifted everything up, and my album did go very large. And I'm very glad that I had 3 albums out before that I really had some, some mileage underneath me before it got really crazy and really big. And I think when I was doing my Unplugged, and I did a duet with Bruce Springsteen, and we were on stage together singing Thunder Road. That's when I went, okay, this has reached the surreal part. This is like dream come true. This is this is literally a dream, and it's true. And I wanted to stop time. And then I got to tell you, that sort of thing doesn't stop, because just a couple of weeks ago, I did a concert in my hometown, and you were, laughing about your island in the middle of nowhere, where I was born and raised in Leavenworth, Kansas. And that's a little small town in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Kansas, and very conservative. And they have embraced me and been so proud of me. And, they didn't even have a venue. There's not a venue you can play there. So we played on the street, and the whole town turned out. And that was an absolute dream come true, and very surreal to be standing there and singing hits and having my band and rocking out. That's a 16-year-old's, as I'm falling asleep and, back in my home in Leavenworth, I dreamed someday I'll come back and do this. And that was a total dream come true.
Were you looking out into the crowd and saying like, oh yeah, I went to high school with you?
Oh yeah. Oh no, they were all out there. It's crazy.
I'm glad that story didn't end with, and I told them all, you told me I'd never make anything of my...
No, they were they always knew. Everyone I'd ever see go, oh yeah, we all knew you'd make it. You were the girl that always carried her guitar around the school. Everyone knew me, nobody was surprised.
The nice thing about an album like this is it gives us a chance to reminisce a little bit, to look back a little bit. And I know you're still making great music. I suppose I want to know if there's anything left, any mountains left for you to conquer.
Yeah, sure there is. Sure. I think creativity is just exploding now. I think because we used to be, if you wanted to do wanted to make a record, you made a record, you were on the radio, and then, that it was this one avenue. And I think now with the internet and everything, it's incredibly open to what you can do. So I would like to continue this. We have a thing called Etheridge TV that we put together during the pandemic, and I would like to grow that more. And I don't know. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I think that's pretty fun and amazing.
Well, it certainly is. Congratulations on this new record. It's lovely to talk to you, and thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much. See ya.
My guest was Melissa Etheridge. Her new album, One Way Out, is out now.